am not here to tell you that your trauma has purpose. Now, I believe that you and God can talk about that if that's important to you, and it might be, and I support that. I believe God can do anything and show you meaning when you ask for it. But I do not believe that God allowed abuse, trauma, or suffering in your life at the cruel hands of others because He needed to teach you something or have you understand a picture of purpose. To do so, in my mind, is against the nature of God. You see, He is not the author of confusion. He is not the father of lies. He is the way, the truth, and the life, which means He desires for us to live in wholeness and to enjoy right, healthy relationship, both with Himself and with others. I refuse to believe that He is the author of brokenness. Therefore, I must also conclude that He did not write that script in a way which caused you pain so He can somehow tell a bigger story and show how great He is. He can do that without sin or death being on the ink of the pages of your life. He doesn't need pain and suffering in order to write a beautiful story. Therefore, I believe we sell ourselves short when we succumb to simple pleasantries that God is going to teach us something, that He wanted to draw us closer to Himself through it, or that He has a ministry for you because of it. Now, God can teach without the backdrop of trauma. He draws us near without suffering, and He can mold you for ministry without the sins of others as the prompt. Therefore, I will not tell you that you must endure an arduous healing process because He needed to hurt you in order to heal you so that you were ready. I just don't believe that He works that way. But does God give you a purpose to your pain? See, I believe God can use anything. And if you would like to seek His voice to find out how He's going to redeem it, then I encourage you to do so. Because yes, God can redeem and restore anything. But just because He can fix something does not mean He was the one who broke it or allowed it to happen so that He could show off. We'll go farther in our trust of Him if we first release ourselves from the mental torment of believing that He broke us, when it's the effects of sin and death which are the culprits for our suffering. He is not the author of either sin or death. But does it ever happen that God brings pain into our lives? All of that being said, does God introduce pain into our lives for a purpose of teaching us? It's an important question. And you see, I do believe there are times in which we will face natural consequences to our own actions, our own words, choices, and behaviors which align with sin and death. In essence, these are acts of our own rebellion against His order. And in these moments, we will face discipline or consequences. However, this is not to be confused with trauma which is induced at the hands of others who are acting in rebellion to His order. So, how do you know which is which? When we know His ways, when we get closer to understanding our own nature, we get that clarity that we're looking for. We need to understand that it is our natural desire to go against God's order. And there are times in which we are unkind, mean, arrogant, hateful, prideful, envious, jealous, and so on. These are the things which God will correct us on, and it might be painful. You see, He is a good and loving Father who teaches us how to be more like Him. It says that it is His kindness that leads us to repentance. This means that despite whatever incidents we had with being punished as kids or whatever that looked like for us, God doesn't do things in a way which is cruel. He wants us to come to Him, and He understands how great His love is to heal us and to lead us to be more like Him, to be kind, compassionate, loving, giving, humble, and generous. So we also need to understand, though, that others are responsible for their own actions. This means that if someone sins against you, we can't own that for them. Yes, it's our job to do the hard work of knowing how to heal from it, but we can't own their sin or their wrong choices. This is good news, because it means that we can be free of any guilt or shame that we've attached to our own identity based off of somebody else's choices. This is fantastic because it means that we can find wholeness. But what do you do with any guilt or shame that is left over from either our actions or the choices of somebody else? Let's continue that in our discussion up next.